I'll give a second example that's worth thinking about. And this example has only come up in the last 30 or 40 years. Some leading scientists have looked at our universe, and they've noticed that it has a whole bunch of numerical values. I mean, think about it. If I were to take this bottle of water and drop it, it will accelerate to the ground at a known rate. Gravity. So in our universe, there are all these constants and forces. The electromagnetic force. That happens to be also the speed of light. There's the strong nuclear force. There's something called the electroweak force. So there are all these numbers. One physicist named Lee Smolin, he says it's sort of like God is sitting at a big desk. And on the desk, he has 100 different dials. Every dial is calibrated to a very specific number. And here's the question that the scientists are asking. What if we sneak into the room, and when God isn't looking, we fool with the dials? We just change them around a little bit. What would happen? And the scientists who look at this question say that what would happen is if you touch one of the dials and you move it, not 10%, not 1%, but 1 part in 100,000 millionth million, you would have no universe, you would have no life. This, by the way, is a topic that is described by the physicist Stephen Hawking in his book, A Brief History of Time. If you look in there, you'll find the example I just gave. The whole idea is that the entire universe appears to be a kind of gigantic plot to make possible, well, us. Now, this idea, which is sometimes called the anthropic principle, or in a more colloquial way, the fine-tuned universe, this argument has put modern atheism totally on the defensive. Why? First of all, it's an argument utterly immune to Darwinian attack. We're not talking about whether the dog and the wolf had a common ancestor. We're talking about how we got a universe in the first place and why the constants of the universe that have existed for a long, how did they get so calibrated for life? I was in a debate some months ago against a physicist, and he was clearly very shaken by this idea of the fine-tuned universe, but he said, I think I can account for it. And I said, how? He goes, well, maybe there are multiple universes. I said, really? How many? He goes, frankly, I don't know, but he goes, I think there probably are an infinity of universes out there. And if there are an infinity of universes, it's not that surprising that one of them, unlikely though it may seem, happens to be suited for life. That just happens to be the one we're in. And I said to him, this is really a far-out, fantastic, and kind of a thrilling idea that you've got all these universes. I said, what is the scientific or empirical evidence for it? He goes, well, there is none. And I said, well, that's okay, but you're at the frontiers of scientific research. Do you expect that evidence will be coming in the next 20 or 50 or maybe 100 years to give some empirical support for this really exciting theory? He goes, oh, no. Not only is there no evidence, there never will be. And at this time, genuinely curious, I said, well, why not? And he said, well, because if there are other universes, they would operate according to other laws. In other words, they would be permanently cut off from our universe. We could never find out about them. And I said to him, look, wow. I would like to believe that, but I just don't think I have that much faith.